don't think that. Most schools don't count the red.
So my essay is I'm gonna write Jesus. Jesus is always the answer. Therefore, Jesus believes.
That's one strategy. Okay, so let's look at the medium. A store owner buys a pound of grapes for 80 cents and sells it for $1. What percent of the selling price of grapes is the store owner's profit? Okay, so this is kind of the same idea, except they're telling you basically what formula they want you to use. So he bought them for 80 cents and sold them for $1. So how much does he make on each pound?
20 cents.
He makes 20 cents, right? That's his profit. And it says what percent of the selling price. So he sells it for $1. He sells it for 100 cents. So we're looking for what percent of the selling price, which is 100 cents. You got to make sure your units match. Is 20 cents. And the hundreds cancel out, so it's 20%. It's 20 over 100. It's 20 cents out of 100 cents, or 20%. He's making a 20% profit selling price.
Student Daniel Colton, please come to the front office for a phone call. Student Daniel Colton, please come to the front office for a phone call.
On the first test of the semester, Barbara scored a 60. On the last test, she scored a 75. By what percent did Barbara's score improve? Remember, improve is another word for increase. So this is a percent increase problem. So we do the difference in her two scores, which was 15, divided by the original, times 100. Is that not what y'all did?
No, we did
That's what
75.
everybody did.
Yes. Remember the formula for percent increase or decrease. If they don't tell you which of the two scores to take the percent of, it's implied that they mean the original score. So 15 out of 60 is 25%. Randy's chain of used car dealerships sold 16,400 cars in 1998. If they sold 15,744 cars in 1999, by what percent did the number of cars sold decrease? So percent decrease is the difference divided by the original. So the difference in those two numbers, what is it? I don't have it off the top of my head.
676.
676 is the difference. Over, which one would be considered the original? 16,400 times 100.
Oh, they will give you the same answer.
So what do you get?
656.
I don't know. I didn't do it.
It was so loud to get the wrong answer. 656.
Sorry. 656. So 656 divided by 16,400 times 100. 4%. So remember, it's difference, the difference in the two things you're comparing over the one that's considered the original, the first one, times 100. That's the formula for percent increase, decrease. I think they really consider any of them where you have to remember a kind of formula or a rule like that, where they're not going to give it to you, to be medium or hard. All right, so let us move on.
Oh, wrong thing. Hey.
There we go. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about, ratios. A ratio, that's another word for a fraction. It tells you how much you have of one thing compared to how much you have of another thing. And it describes a relationship not a total number. And that's where these problems give a lot of people trouble. But there is a way from a ratio to figure out actual numbers. Like if I told you that the ratio of boys to girls in this school was 2 to 3, it doesn't mean that there are 2 boys and 3 girls. And it means that for every 2 boys, there are 3 girls. You could actually figure out how many of each there were if you knew some other information. So to figure out the actual numbers in a ratio, add the 2 numbers in the ratio and divide that number into the total. So if you knew the total number of students in this school, if I told you the ratio of girls to boys was 2 to 3, you could figure out how many boys there were and how many girls there were. Take that number and multiply by both parts. So for example, John has red marbles and blue marbles in a ratio of 1 to 2. If he has a total of 24 marbles, how many red and blue marbles does he have? So the ratio of red to blue is 1 to 2. And we want to figure out how much he really has of red and blue. So if you'll add these up, what's 1 plus 2? 3. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Then take the total, 24, and divide by 3. You'll get 8. That basically tells you what they reduced by to get 1/2. They divided the top and the bottom by 8. They divided the 2 parts of the ratio by 8 to reduce it down to 1/2. So we're trying to think backwards. What did they reduce to get 1/2 if they divided the top and the bottom by 8? Well, 1 times 8 is 8, and 2 times 8 is 16. That means he really has 8 red and 16 blue. So add the numbers in the ratio, divide into the total, and then that number multiply by the 2 numbers in the ratio. If the ratio of red to blue is 1 to 2, and there's a total of 24, 1 plus 2 is 3, 24 divided by 3 is 8, so 1 times 8 is 8, and 2 times 8 is 16. There are 8 red and 16 blue. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. We're ready for another quick quiz. I know. One slide and we're ready to go. So, quick quiz number 7. These are ratios quick quiz. Notice again, there is no easy. There's 2 medium and a hard. So this kind of indicates to you where in the test you should expect to see these types of questions. So you can kind of start getting a feel for whether or not you would attempt these in your first go through the test, or if it's going to be some that you leave for when you're going back to try again.